What terrifying stories from your life will you never forget? When I was a student, I rented a small apartment, and every single night, I could hear a baby crying through the wall. The mother apologized every time we ran into each other. "I'm so sorry. We must be keeping you up." You could tell she was mortified about it. There didn't seem to be a father around. She was raising him alone. One night I got home very late, and the crying wouldn't stop. It went on, loud enough that people from the other apartments started coming out into the hallway to see what was going on. The mother came out to us alone, leaving the baby inside, and stood there apologizing with tears in her eyes. Behind her door, the baby was still screaming. Then one of the older women said, "Oh, listen to those healthy lungs. Isn't he sweet? Here, let me hold him for a bit." I raised 3 of my own. They're all grown now. I miss having a baby in my arms. And she reached out to take him. The mother shrank back and tried to refuse, but the woman wouldn't let it go. "It's really no trouble. You go and get some sleep," she said, and headed straight for the door. I jumped in too. I told her I'd looked after my nephews plenty of times, and that I had the next day off, so I'd help the older woman look after him. The mother kept insisting she couldn't possibly impose, and the older woman kept saying, "I'm not doing you a favor. I just want to hold a baby." Then came the questions, and what's his name, how old is he? And in the end it was agreed. We'd take him for the night. Good, I thought. The 2 of us stepped into the apartment, and I froze. There was no baby. There was a phone lying there, set to speaker, and the crying was coming out of it. I stood rooted to the spot. All I could manage was and ah. And the mother said, completely normally, "I'm sorry. He cries all the time." The older woman recovered first. "Well, they're all like that at this age." "All right then, come pick him up later," she said, and pulled me out of there by the arm. She asked if I lived alone, said come to my place, and took me home with her. We sat there trying to work out whether we should report it, and who you would even report something like that to, and in the end, I was too frightened to leave, and stayed until morning. After that, I slept at a friend's place, got money from my parents, and moved out immediately, so I never found out how it ended. But that was the first time in my life I saw someone whose mind had come apart like that, and I still remember it vividly. This was yesterday. In the middle of the night, around 1:30, my 6th grade son came into our bedroom and said to my husband, "Dad, someone's on the balcony." The shutters were closed and the glass door was bolted, but he said he could hear someone walking out there, the boards creaking under them. The balcony runs along the entire side of the house, with doors leading into both my son's bedroom and ours. My husband and I put our ears against the glass and listened. He was right, you could hear it. And whoever it was wasn't even trying to be quiet. I suddenly became afraid for my daughter, who's in 8th grade, so I woke her and brought her in with us. I was just about to call the police on my phone when my son, who hadn't taken his ear from the glass, said, "It's saying something." We all turned toward the glass, and clearly, in a woman's voice, we heard, "Goodbye." My daughter panicked and started screaming, and my legs gave out under me. I couldn't even stand. We called the police and they looked the place over. Nobody. They said they'd patrol the area for a while. How could a woman climb up to a 2nd floor balcony and in the middle of the night? I even wondered whether my husband was having an affair and the woman had started stalking us. I confronted him about it, but he got angry. What affair? What are you talking about? I checked his phone too. Nothing like that. Either way, I'm still frightened, and tonight we're all sleeping in one room again. I can't get to sleep. This is around the time it happened last night, and I still can't stop thinking about it. I hope nothing happens tonight. This happened at the small company where I was the one responsible for training new hires. On my day off, I got a message from a senior colleague. We've hired someone part-time. They start on the 26th, show them the ropes. So the next day, I came in an hour early. The office was empty. I tidied up a little, checked what had been done over the weekend, and before long, I heard the front door open. "Hello?" A thin young man of about 25 was standing in the doorway, his head shaved almost to the skin. "Today's my first day. I'm Kenta. I'll do my best." Something about him was a little off, but he was polite and sounded sure of himself. I assumed he was the new hire. I showed him into the main office, gave him a time card, showed him his desk, and explained the basic duties. The rest of the staff gradually filtered in. I introduced him around, and then everyone got to work. He settled in fast. He did what he was asked sensible questions, chatted with the others. Nothing suspicious about him at all. About an hour in, I remembered. I hadn't looked at his resume. Normally, the colleague who ran the interviews left the paperwork on my desk, but there was nothing there. I checked the interviewer's desk drawer and found only one resume, a woman's. I figured the papers had just been moved somewhere. After all, the man was sitting right in front of me, working. Just before lunch, that colleague arrived. He said good morning, walked into the room, and stopped dead when he saw the man sitting beside me. A few seconds later, a message came through. "Who is that?" I thought he was joking. "The new guy, the one you hired." The reply was instant. "Meeting room, now." In the meeting room, he said, "Who exactly did you let in? The person starting today is a woman." The resume in the drawer belonged to the real new hire. The man I had spent several hours training was someone my colleague had never seen before in his life. But he told me himself it was his first day, was all I could say. We decided to wait until the lunch break ended, and then calmly find out who he was and what he wanted. But during lunch, he went out to the convenience store, and he never came back. He left his jacket behind, and on the desk he left the time card I'd given him. The name Kenta was already written on it in neat handwriting, along with his clock in time and his clock out time. At least Kenta was the name he had given me. The clock out time read 12:47. 12:47 was the exact moment we walked out of the meeting room and found him gone. We went through the office. Nothing was missing. He had barely touched a computer and hadn't gone into any of the restricted rooms. Not one member of staff had seen him photograph anything or go looking for anything. The woman we had actually hired turned up the next day. She had simply gotten the date wrong. We talked about the stranger for a long time afterwards. Maybe he'd walked into the wrong building. Maybe it was somebody's strange idea of a joke. But then why did he name our company, arrive on exactly the right day, and know that a new hire was expected? What bothers me most is something else. He got into the office before anyone else arrived. The building had an electronic lock, and I never gave him the door code. After university, I left the countryside for Osaka. I meant to go back during the holidays, but I was always busy. My parents kept telling me not to wear myself out and not to make the long trip just for their sake, so in the end, I didn't go home for 5 years. When things finally calmed down at work, I decided to visit them. But when my mother heard, she suddenly started trying to talk me out of it. Then my father took the phone. "Come if you want to. It's just that Something here has changed. I'd rather you didn't see it. I assumed some renovation had gone wrong and thought nothing more of it. When I arrived, everything looked the way it always had. The house, the rice fields, the mountains. My parents were delighted to see me, and there with them was my older brother. He had always seemed perfect to me, handsome, clever, easy with people. He'd landed a job at a major company and gotten married. I looked up to him more than anyone, but the man in front of me barely resembled my brother. There was saliva running down his chin, his eyes were empty, and he kept singing the same song over and over, the Inoko Uta, an old local folk song from the village harvest festival. My father told me that, not long after I left for Osaka, my brother had been in an accident. He had been like this ever since. His wife divorced him, and my parents brought him home. That night I heard the front door slide open. It was around 2 a.m. My brother had gone outside and was walking toward the rice fields. I followed him. In the middle of the dark field he stopped and began to sing again. Inoko, Inoko, and whoever does not honor him is a demon, a horned thing. I couldn't take it. I broke down crying and dragged him back to the house, but my parents reacted calmly. Just leave him be. He always comes back on his own by morning. It happened every night I stayed with them. Before I left, I asked my father what would become of my brother now. Don't you worry about him. When the time comes, he'll go back. Go back where? He's already here. My father didn't answer. That was when I noticed he was smiling, very faintly, and quietly laughing to himself. He. My mother was smiling in exactly the same way, and behind them my brother went on singing. I said a quick goodbye and left. Maybe it makes me a coward, but I have never gone home since. I was waiting for the light to change on my way to university, lost in thought, when the man standing next to me said, "Are you my mother?" I was 20 at the time, a student. I had obviously never been pregnant, never had a child, and he was clearly past 30. I was so taken aback that I said, No, you've got the wrong person." And he looked at me as if my answer had surprised him, as if to say, "Why would you lie about that?" That reaction unsettled me even more. The light changed, and I hurried away. There was something not quite right about him. He was very thin, his eyes bulged, his shirt was crumpled, and he had a yellow shoulder bag slung across his chest. That was our first meeting, and over the next few years, I ran into him again and again. From that day on, he waited for me in the same spot every morning, and every time he asked, "Are you my mother?" all I had to do was say no, and he would leave, so it was unsettling, but not enough to go to the police about. Then, at some point, he started turning up at the university as well, and I shouted at him. I think I said something like, "Don't you dare come near me again, and you disgust me." After that, he vanished. I graduated in Tokyo, went back to my hometown, and a year later, a friend from Tokyo suddenly called. "That stalker of yours. I ran into him near the university the other day. He asked me, 'Where's my mother?' I got scared and ran. Hearing it, all I thought was, oh right, there was someone like that, and decided it had nothing to do with me anymore. Then the next year, on Mother's Day, there was a wilted carnation lying at our front door. I knew instantly it was him. I got frightened and told my father, and we went to the police, but they said there was nothing they could do. There had been no harm done, no incident, which is fair enough, but the anxiety wouldn't leave me. And a few months after that, on a snowy evening, I was walking along the sidewalk when a car skidded, caused a pileup, and I was caught in the crash. I lost consciousness for a moment, and when I came to, I was pinned between a car and a fallen tree. My whole body hurt. I couldn't move. I shouted. But there was so much noise around that nobody noticed me. A fire had started nearby, and just as I thought I was going to die, I heard, "Mo there! Mo, oh there!" That man's voice. I screamed with everything I had, "Here! Help me! I'm here!" He'd been caught in the accident too. By the look of him, he was covered in blood. He dug the snow away and pulled me out, and when I could finally see him properly, I realized he was hurt far worse than I was. He was obviously in terrible pain, but he looked at me, smiled, and asked, "Are you my mother?" Something turned over in my chest and I nodded. Yes, yes, and the tears just came. I wiped my eyes and looked up, and he was gone. He had disappeared in the space of a second. I have not seen him once in all the years since. I don't know what he was, but somehow, I don't think he was a ghost. When it snows, I sometimes think of him, the son whose name I never learned. This happened when I moved to Tokyo for university. I just moved into my apartment. All I'd brought from my parents' place was a fridge, a washing machine, and a futon. The entrance ceremony was a week away, and I had to get everything else before then. I ate dinner at a little place nearby, came home, and sat listing what I needed to buy the next day with the TV on in the background. And before I knew it, it was past midnight. All the windows in my apartment were frosted glass, so you couldn't see outside, just blurred patches of light. I need curtains too, I thought, and turned off the light and lay down. I was getting sleepy, but I suddenly got curious about what was outside, so I slid the window open a little. And I went cold. From a window in the building next door, a woman was looking at me. She was standing in a dim room, grinning, her eyes fixed on me, never looking away. It made my skin crawl, so I shut the window, crawled under my futon, and waited for morning. And then, suddenly, knock, 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 knock. Someone knocked on my door. There was nobody who could be visiting me at that hour. I hadn't made any friends yet, and the building's main entrance was electronically locked. I was too frightened to get out from under the futon. There was only that one round of knocking. Whoever it was seemed to leave. I lay there uneasy until dawn. Morning came. I washed, got dressed, and opened that same window to air the room out. That's when I realized something was wrong. I knew I'd seen a woman there the night before, but the building next door, directly across from my window, was nothing but a blank wall. A chill went down my spine. If I had opened that door, what would have happened to me? This happened at my workplace. There's a senior guy at my company who looks out for everyone. He's not exactly brilliant at the job, but he's reliable. Clients sometimes ask for him by name. The only uncomfortable thing about him is how obsessively he talks about his family. Once he starts on his wife and his daughter, he can't stop. And after every weekend, he tells everyone what they did and where they went, passing his photos around. Normally, you just think he was a devoted family man. The problem is that his wife and daughter died years ago. In every other respect, you really can count on him, and it never affects his work, so everyone simply avoids the subject. Then came the office year-end party. It had been a good year. We'd landed a big contract, so the party was a lavish one. He was in unusually high spirits and drank far more than he normally would. By the end, he couldn't walk and could barely stay upright in his chair. You can't send someone home alone in that state, but he dug his heels in. My family's waiting for me. I'm going home. So the boss ordered me and one other guy to take him. The other guy doesn't drink and had come by car, so we used his. Strictly speaking, Only he had been told to do it, but I didn't want to leave him to handle it alone, so I went along. Our colleague was blind drunk, but somehow he'd managed to order takeout, and he held the bag carefully against his chest the whole way. I remember that clearly. We pulled up at his house. Naturally, it was pitch dark inside, not a single light on. He'd sobered up a little by then. He looked at the house and laughed. They're asleep already. He started insisting we come in for tea, and we were making excuses. It's well past midnight. And then, the quick sound of footsteps. Click. The front door opened. From the inside. "Oh, you're still up? I brought you something," he said. And there was something happy in his voice. He stepped into the dark house, and we said, "Right, we'll be off," and got into the car. Both of us were shaking. "Hey, what? Is he living with?" He still shows us photographs of his wife and daughter. There's nobody in them.